showcasing all of Minnesota to you with Megan Newquist and Chris Eggert. This is Minnesota Live.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here for Minnesota Live. Enjoying these last few hours of summer when fall officially arrives later today, just after 8 o'clock. This is a live look this morning from Giants Ridge Resort. Oh, we know won't be too long. We'll be taking this shot and there'll be snow.
I know. The chairlifts will be moving and skiers and snowboarders.
On them there slopes.
Yeah, there will be.
All right, today's Thursday. It's September 22nd. We appreciate you joining us today. Chris Eggert and Megan Newquist reporting for duty.
Nice to have you back. We missed you the last few days. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Everyone's got a thing now.
Everyone's got a thing. Well, keep your thing over there.
It's not that thing that everybody had. It's
something. It's a thing that happens this time of year, maybe.
Yeah, kids back to school.
Yeah, there you
Sharing of germs.
The little cesspool that is.
Good time.
Hey, for a year now, we have been taking you all around the great state, a state that has quite the history when it comes to apples. The University of Minnesota introduced its first apple breed more than 100 years ago. Do you know what it was called? It was called the Minnehaha apple.
So that was 1920. Before that, in 1868, we did some research here this morning.
Yeah, we did.
It's believed that a horticulturist named Peter Gideon successfully grew the first non-crab apple breed here in Minnesota. It was called the wealthy apple.
Wow.
Yeah, and look at him. He looks like a very stately
wealthy
fella.
man who enjoys a nice apple.
I do enjoy a good apple.
You may be wondering why we're telling you all of this. And it's because our producer, Lauren Andrego, is...
that guy's picture.
Lauren is here.
She's
checking out.
7 apples ago. Sorry.
You're going to go into a coughing fit. You're going to...
I'm all right.
Lauren's here. Hi, Lauren.
This guy over here.
Now here at noon, thousands are already without power as Hurricane Ian closes in on Florida. We'll have the evacuations that are underway and how communities are preparing for the storm's landfall. Plus, parents and doctors are sounding the alarm on a fentanyl epidemic. The new warning about the new rainbow pills that police say they are finding here in Minnesota. And another push from unions in our state. Hundreds of mental health workers could soon walk off the job just weeks after the largest nurses strike in U.S. history. Plus, Election Day is now less than 6 weeks out, and one of the most competitive congressional races in the country is right here in Minnesota. We're going to put one of those latest campaign ads through our truth test. This is Eyewitness News on 45. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us here. Eyewitness News on 45. I'm Chris Eggert, in for Leah McLean today. Throughout the show here, we're going to be updating you on Hurricane Ian that is bearing down right now on Florida. I know a lot of you have friends and family there. Let's get right to meteorologist Mace Michaels with a check of your forecast. First, talking nice weather for us, Mace. Obviously not the case down there.
Yes. We'll start with us first, and it looks great today, Chris. Look at all of that sunshine. Almost a Category 5. So intense.
Absolutely. Okay, Mace, we're going to check back in a little bit, continue to track that situation. I mean, it's changing moment by moment, as you just heard there. Hurricane Ian is moving in on Florida's west coast, a Category 4, although very close. You just heard there from Mace. It is approaching Category 5 as it gets closer to land. Ian is forecast to make landfall between Fort Myers and Sarasota, and it doesn't look too far away from doing that yet. It's supposed to happen later this afternoon. Heavy winds are hitting the state right now. This is a live look. This is Holmes Beach. This is on Anna Maria Island. It looks like conditions are deteriorating here. We took this shot about an hour ago. Definitely can tell that the winds are picking up. Now we want to show you a shot. This is the Florida Department of Transportation. This is the Sunshine Skyway. This is over Tampa Bay. For reference, this is the higher bridge that heads south there from the Tampa Bay area down to the Fort Myers area, and just get a load of the waves that are absolutely just hammering the bridge right there down below. It would normally never look like that on this particular waterway. Let's check in now with ABC's Justin Finch with the latest on the track of this storm. All right, thanks, Jill. 5:50 is the time. We have some new results this morning from our exclusive KSTP Survey USA poll showing the Minnesota governor's race has tightened up a bit with just over 4 weeks until Election Day. There have been no debates between Tim Walz and Scott Jensen since early August. And while just a month ago, Walz had an 18-point lead, now the race is tightened to a 10-point lead, 50% to 40% for Republican Scott Jensen. 4% prefer another candidate, and 7% remain undecided.
Right, there's some movement in the governor's race, but Scott Jensen needs more movement, and he needs it in the next few weeks if he's ever to catch Tim Walz.
Our survey also shows the economy is the #1 important issue among voters, followed by abortion, inflation, and public safety. Now, for complete coverage of the 2022 election across the country and here in Minnesota, you can head to KSTP.com/elections. There's an investigation underway into a possible explosion on a property near Welch in far southeastern Dakota County. From Chopper 5, we could see a fire truck and sheriff's deputies there through the trees. A neighbor told us a loud boom shook the area, and then she saw a woman driving quickly out of the driveway to get her husband to the hospital. Deputies intercepted the couple in Hastings, and the man was airlifted into the hospital with serious injuries. It is not clear this morning what caused the explosion.
You're watching Minnesota Live.
Hi, everybody. Shh, be quiet. Everybody be quiet. Shh. Good morning, everyone. It's 9:32. This is a live look this morning from the North American Bear Center in Ely. That's Ted in there. Oh, sorry, Ted.
Isn't Ted supposed to be like fattening up for the winter, for hibernation?
Maybe he's already starting hibernation.
Sleeping,
So
Ted.
this is Ted. He's 25 years young, and his favorite snack is red grapes, which are plentiful in Ely.
Walks on the beaches.
Yeah, right. There you go. There's Ted.
That's cute.
That was cute.
I feel like today's such a nice fall day. I want to like wake Ted up and be like, wait, go enjoy it.
I want to be Ted sleeping in a shelter.
I'm with you. I want to be sleeping in a shelter too.
Meg and I are big thrifters. I don't know if you know that. So Goodwill's like a second home. I mean, not only can you find sweet things like this.
Oh my gosh.
Certain times of year, this particular headgear. Right?
You so need that
it's
right now.
Very appropriate. Oh, wow, what a bargain. Yeah, I was just looking at the T-shirts back here. There's a bunch of really cool shirts. It's funny that you say, what's vintage, what's retro? Well, for our kids, it's like stuff from the 90s and versus us. We're looking for things from the 70s
Right.
and whatnot. I got me a little go-go gadget outfit going on right now.
You want to be cool. He's live at Goodwill, the one right along University Avenue in St. Paul. Your professor look, it's improving. Or you could have a fishing pole in your hand and be fly fishing too. I'm not quite sure.
I mean, definitely has like a early 1900s fisherman vibe, like from a river runs through it. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm definitely feeling you on that.
Back in with Chris, who is spending all morning at Goodwill. There's more than just clothing. Oh my gosh, that's not what I was expecting.
That's because I'm talking music, Meg, and I feel like I really need to have kind of a hipster music guy look. Is it working for you?
It's a look. No doubt about it.
It is a look. It is a look.
It's
and
a
fun
thing.
fact, this thing on my head, this hat, that's called, the theme is steampunk. It's called steampunk. We're just about done here on Minnesota Live. Quick reminder from the Goodwill in St. Paul that they've got a lot of holiday stuff as well. And if you're like my mom and you have 7,000 of these Santa Bears in your basement, you want to know how much they're going to be worth? They're worth $4.99
Oh,
for each bear.
Those are so
So,
cute. You need to pick those up.
I'm just saying, we don't need to save these anymore. We should donate them.
I was thinking Deb needed 2 more.
There you go, Christmas present. It'll be very affordable, like everything here at Goodwill, and it's nearly 50 locations around Minnesota.
Welcome back to Nightcast. Tom Bernard was once the highest rated morning radio host in the entire country. He's a household name in Minnesota radio. But after nearly 37 years on the air, Bernard is set to leave the KQ morning show December 23rd. By any measure, his career has been extremely successful, but also controversial. Bernard's been accused of being a racist. He's received death threats. And if you think that's scaring him away, you're wrong. Tonight, Chris Eggert brings us an exit interview with Tom Bernard. And as you'll see, nothing was off limits.
But I do look back at that now, Chris. I really do look back and go, how did I ever get this job?
In 25 years of interviewing newsmakers, I've never conducted an interview like this. How did you piss everybody off so much?
Because I wouldn't agree with them.
Right?
We had rare access to radio legend Tom Bernard.
It just got too big. Because when it gets that big, they're going to try everything they can to tear it down.
one-on-one. Is there anything you look back on and wish you could have done a little bit different way, or regret how it all played out? Or?
Only about 90% of it.
But my very first break on the radio was at 1370 KDAN in St. Paul.
And live on the air during one of the podcasts produced by Tom Bernard's family.
I know exactly what you...
At his studio in St. Louis Park. So you didn't want to be political.
I was raised by an ardent Democrat named Toots, my mother.
Yeah. Nothing was off limits. Are you leaving on good terms?
No.
Okay.
Do I ever, Mike?
Yeah.
Morning Show, 92 KQRS. We are back, 9:09.
Bernard's retiring, just a few months short of 37 years on the air.
On 92 KQRS.
Good times and bad times. Largely because Bernard says a conservative format was forced on him several years ago.
And I wish in some ways that I would have said, no, I don't want to do that. You know, I just don't want to do that because I'm pretty much a centrist. I'm back where I was before now. I never did buy into the whole thing completely.
He rarely gives interviews, but is written about a lot. A guy from North Minneapolis who used to go by the name The Cat Man in his early days. Listening to your voice evolve, like when you were Cat Man on 1500, I mean, it was
like really growling.
And would become one of the most listened to men in America.
Jesse Ventura's here. How you doing, Jess?
Good, Tom. How you doing?
He had big guests, a hold nothing back format with a cast of characters, and lots of lucky breaks.
People do need to understand how grateful I am for, I just broke through. I should not have ever broken through in a big market, like was the market number 14 at the time, or whatever, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I've worked with some great people over the years at KQRS and all the way back 1500 KSTP.
15 KSTP. 15th caller. Gonna get a Doobie Brothers album now.
What are you going to miss the least?
What am I going to miss the least? Like every other job I've ever had, including being a dishwasher and a busboy, having a boss. I just don't work well with bosses. I just don't. You do what you do, I what I do, and let's meet in the middle. But that doesn't happen very often in any business, I don't think. You know, people don't come together with their different abilities, and I wish we did. That'd be nice.
It'd be hard to say that you're not good at what you do. You guys had one of the most impressive runs probably ever in morning radio.
We did indeed, and it was it caused a lot of problems throughout the years, I will tell you that. There were periods when the show got so big, I had to have an armed guard with me all the time. It got that big that literally, we would say, I'd go out to dinner with my wife and our two children when they were little, and people would literally walk over and sit at the table. You know, it got really weird, you know? And then, of course, I'd get death threats a lot. I still get them once in a while, but not very often anymore. But I used to get them all the time. You know, you can't get that big and survive it.
You grew up in North Minneapolis. You've taken a lot of heat over the years. People have called you a racist.
Oh, yeah.
Does that bother you?
It used to, doesn't so much anymore because they have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, look, when you look back at that kind of thing, we had not one but two black men on the show for 30 years. We had transgender people on the air 20 years ago.
I've heard you described as reclusive.
Yes.
At certain points during your guys' rise to fame, like you said, you had a bodyguard. Like,
oh, yeah.
You couldn't even go out to eat. Like,
no.
I suppose that would get old to some extent.
It did. It got really, really old. It got very, very old, as a matter of fact.
He's threatened retirement several other times, but kept coming back.
We are back, 9:09 now, 9 minutes after 9 o'clock at KQRS.
Bernard also worked briefly in the music industry and is the voice guy behind thousands of commercials.
Now, Target introduces You'll Never Pay Less pricing.
Including here on KSTP.
This is Eyewitness News.
It was publicly acknowledged at one point. I mean, at the top of my career, I was making about $2.5 million a year on the radio, which nobody had ever even heard of outside of New York City. I mean, Howard Stern was the only guy, I think, making more money than I was, I think, at the time. I don't think I've ever talked about this before. Catherine came home. We were living in Maple Grove at the time, many, many years ago. And she came home, and I was sitting in the living room crying in a chair. He said, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "What am I going to do now? There's nowhere left to go. I mean, we're at the top of it. It can only go down from here, and that makes me very sad." It's a true story. And that's what happened. So there you go. It was. You could see it coming, because that's how life works, right? But it did last another 15 years, so that's good.
80 with hazy sunshine. Tonight, 65.
He's hanging up the headphones at KQ at the end of December as the station and the industry works to attract a younger audience to their number on the dial.
KQ uninterrupted.
And for those who are still listening,
on 92 KQRS,
you might be back on your radio soon on another frequency.
Hope I can do it again. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see.
Because Tom Bernard still has plenty left to say.
Chris talked to broadcast industry expert Fred Jacobs for some perspective on the impact Tom Bernard has had on radio in the Twin Cities. And Jacobs told him it is to Tom's credit he did what few local morning personalities could do, render Howard Stern irrelevant. When Howard went on the attack, Tom stayed focused on message. I think he always had a keen understanding of what made the market tick. Jacobs is referring to when Howard Stern aired briefly in syndication here in the Twin Cities, but was never able to top Bernard's ratings on KQ, and he left the airwaves here. KQRS has not announced future plans for the KQ morning show.